Hey guys, welcome back to the Blood and Black Rum podcast. I'm Ryan from Cultsploitation.com, and I'm joined by my co-host Martin.
How's it going?
Pretty good. In the background of Martin's audio, you may or may not hear classic rock. He is on location right now at a Pix 106 concert. No, I'm just kidding.
Concert series at SPAC.
I'm gonna do my best to edit it out in post, but if any of it does make it through, Martin's upstairs apartment neighbor is rocking out. So
having a good time.
Yeah. So if that does make it through, some of the noise reduction that I do, that's the reason why. So just start off with that.
You're probably asking yourself, you're 8. How come you don't record in like a soundproof room?
Oh yeah.
Because you know what? Fuck that.
Yeah, we definitely don't have any of that budget. Like I said,
not even most people that do that have that budget. They're like,
I know. We always say we put our budget whatever we get back towards the beer. So we don't spend it at all on
production. Well,
equipment.
No, it is a production cost.
That's true.
Part of the show.
It is. Yeah. Okay, since we're just starting out, I do need to do this for our beer mule. There you go. There's a nice crisp crack of the can for today. Get that on there. That is not a can sound effect either. That's the real deal. And then, listen to that. I'm pouring one out, too. You hear that? You hear that fizzing? That's for our beer mule. Last time, he took offense in our previous episode because we did Smokey the Bandit and we did stubby bottles, and he didn't really appreciate me cracking the top on a bottle. So today, crack the can. Do it right now so that we get it on the show.
Wasn't authentic enough.
Guess not. So, we'll talk about the beer a little bit later. But first, let's talk about the movie that we got for the podcast today.
What are we doing?
We are starting Red Hot. And this is a really long title that we've come up with for the the series that we're doing. So bear with me. I'll probably end up forgetting it here and there. But it's Red Hot 80s Action Summer Part 2 Heat Wave Edition. Because if you didn't know it, we are in the midst of a heat wave. Apparently, it is the first heat wave to ever conjure a name for itself. So we're in Heatwave Zoe, and that's why we're doing Heatwave Edition this time. But if you remember back last year in August, we did do Red Hot 80s Action Summer.
Actually, no, we did it during June, July.
Did we? I thought it was during August, and that led us into Halloween, but maybe not. Maybe I'm mistaken.
No, we skipped August.
Oh, okay. August didn't exist in our book.
Took it off. I'm more than likely it had something to do with you.
Probably. But yeah, last summer we did that. We did a bunch of 80s action movies. We're bringing it back. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Bringing it back this year. I want to do it again. So we've got a lineup that we haven't really revealed. Let it linger and let you think about it, what we're doing. But today we're going to do a movie that, as you said off air, inspired Mortal Kombat. Throw that out there. Particularly Johnny Cage. It is a true story, which we'll talk about. And it really blossomed Jean-Claude Van Damme's career. So, put it all together, Martin. What does that spell out for us?
Bloodsport.
That's right. One of the greatest movies of all time. And I'll be honest with you, never seen it till today. So I was not sure what to expect. I've seen other Van Damme films.
Have you seen Kickboxer?
I have not seen Kickboxer either. No. I'm not very deep into the Van Damme canon. I have seen some really odd choices because of what I've received on Blu-ray. So I've seen Lionheart. I've seen Double Impact. Neither of those being one of Van Damme's main attractions, but I haven't seen Bloodsport, but I know of it, and I know what it did for Van Damme's career, and what it primarily was about. But coming into it, I didn't really know much more than that. You've seen it before, I assume?
I think like once a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also not that very well versed in
Van Damme.
Yeah.
Who would you say you're more well versed in? Van Damme, Stallone, who else?
Wow, great.
Schwarzenegger.
Probably Schwarzenegger first. Stallone.
Mm-hmm.
Jackie Chan.
Mm-hmm. Then all the way at the bottom, Van Damme.
He's above Seagal.
Okay. Oh yeah, Seagal. Yeah, I would. That's probably Schwarzenegger is probably my first, and then, I guess, I don't know. I guess because I've kind of skipped over most of the '80s action movies. Really, I haven't seen. I guess I would say like it would then be Bronson.
Bronson would be up there too. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, that would be mine. And then Van Damme's pretty far down. Seagal is way down. Like I've not really seen any of his output.
No, to be fair to Van Damme, as a young child, I saw probably Universal Soldier 2 1,000 times on DirecTV because that had Bill Goldberg in it, and young Chris Martin was a big WCW fan.
Kind of bumps him back up again because though you haven't seen most of his canon, you have seen that movie particularly 1,000 times. So you are just Goldberg intimately knowledgeable of his mannerisms and stuff.
Yes.
Was because that was later in his career. How different had he changed from?
It's only 10 years later. Not much.
I mean, still, it's 10 years of, and he did a lot. He had a lot of output within that 10-year period. How much did he change between then and now, and then in Universal Soldier 2?
I think he had frosted tips in it.
Okay.
Had a boy band look.
Yeah.
You know. He had a lot of success in Street Fighter. I saw Street Fighter as a child.
Uh-huh.
So, I was a big fan of Street Fighter.
Yep.
Terrible movie, but that's besides the point.
Probably there's some people out there like, terrible movie.
No, I don't. Excuse me. Outside of Raul Julia as Bison in that film, nobody likes anything about that film.
Yeah.
And everyone's upset. Kind of like with Phil Hartman. Like Phil Hartman's such a delight in his last role, Jingle All the Way. And we're like, oh, that's his last. It's the same with Raul Julia. Like as he's dying, he's making Street Fighter. And it's trash, but
that is true. That is true.
A good job.
The poor guy was like sick as a dog during Street Fighter's filming. Like I think he is like visibly yellow in some scenes in that movie. Terrible. All right. So all of that to bring us back to Bloodsport. Why did you choose Bloodsport? What made you want to do it for this month?
Because I think, though Van Damme, I would say, is definitely more of a 90s action hero. Because most of his well-known output is in the 90s. I think it's just a great little opportunity to see, what the man's capable of. And this film does have, a pretty good, cult following. Mm-hmm. And again, my main tie of, knowing about it and some of the background and all that is because being a Mortal Kombat fan, I know that, Ed Boon and co, they were really inspired by Bloodsport when they were making the first game, setting, characters, etc. So it was just something, I thought would be a fun little thing to do. Because plus, a lot of people, when they think action films, they think, gun-toting.
Blow them up. Explosion, yeah.
Yeah. Which is why I thought it was fun last year to do Police Story, not just because it's a great Jackie Chan film and a great, action cop thriller, but, there's no real gunplay in it for the most part, outside of, the opening. It's mainly, acrobatics and martial arts. So I thought this, would be another welcome because, like I said, yeah, I think most people, when you think action film, you think, Red Brown and Strike Commando, or Chuck Norris in Invasion USA, or Schwarzenegger in Predator, just Bronson in Death Wish 3. Somebody just running around with a machine gun mowing down half a town.
Mm. But that's not the case. I mean, yeah, because we had a number of martial arts films from the 80s, Bloodsport being one of them. And
it's a canon film.
What's that?
It's a canon film, so
it's a canon film. But also, what I was going to say is, it's not an Asian-led film either, like a Jackie Chan movie. It is primarily it's a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, and it does bring an interesting element to it because this is a non-Asian going to Hong Kong to fight in a blood sport, the Kumite, which an unwary person might look at that word and say it's Kumite. That's incorrect. It's Kumite, as they continually tell you in the movie.
1,000 times.
The Kumite. And actually,
the first 10 minutes of this film is just them saying, like, you can't go to the Kumite. I'm going to the Kumite.
Yeah, and like dropping exposition here and there, like, you're going to the Kumite? Yes, I'm going to the Kumite. But that's a blood sport. People die. Yep, I'm going to the Kumite. And then there's a whole scene, too, where they are in a bar, and there's a woman that's been trying to find the Kumite. And she's talking to a guy, and she's like, do you know about the Kumite? And he's like, what Kumite? And she's like, I know about the Kumite. The Kumite is a full contact tournament held in Hong Kong. It's like literally just spelling out the exposition of what this thing is. Otherwise known as the Dark Tournament from Yu Yu Hakusho.
Oh, wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
Netflix, don't fuck it up. You have a great opportunity to make the live action Yu Yu Hakusho adaptation be Bloodsport, but modernized. Don't fuck it up.
That's right.
Thank you for waking me up. I hope that stays the theme for the live action, because that's going to be so funny.
The American version. That wasn't the theme for the Japanese, but...
Yeah, well, they're not important.
All right.
It's an American show.
With that transition in the background for your neighbor's music, let's go on to the beer that we have on the show before we really get into the Bloodsport talk. We already cracked it, of course. You heard that at the beginning. But we grabbed a special new Ommegang series beer. If you've listened to us in the past, we tend to cover all of the new Ommegang series beers. Ommegang being a brewery that is fairly close by to us in Cooperstown, New York. Great farmhouse brewery. And this one is called Dream Patch. It's a fruited sour with cherry, blueberry, and raspberry. Clocks in at 6.5%. And it's in partnership with Leafman's. Which I don't really know Leafman's, but I'm assuming that's like a grower. Doesn't say, though. It'd be kind of nice if they actually said. I mean, it just says on the back of the can in partnership with Leafman's. You don't really specify who they are or what they do, what they brought to the table. But anyway, so this is a fruited sour. Oh, I'm sorry. It does say. I guess I didn't read far enough. It says brewed with the sour gurus of Belgium, Leafman's. So they went back to their Belgian roots here with Leafman's.
Wow, just like, look at you uncultured swine.
That's right.
Just like, who the hell are these assholes? Must not be important.
I guess I should know, huh? So, what do you think about this cherry, blueberry, raspberry sour ale?
It's good. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I like it. It's nice and tart, crisp and refreshing. You definitely get a big hit of cherry, and it's kind of like an in-between between real and like medicinal Robitussin.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah,
I don't think it's too medicinal. I've had a lot worse from cherry.
No, I agree, but I mean, it does have a slight Robitussin-y taste, which I'm not a fan of.
Cherry often does me wrong, but not this time.
And the blueberry, which I usually love, I'm kind of finding it hard to find because it's kind of buried underneath the sandwich of cherry and raspberry, because you definitely get like a big cherry taste at front. And then, like, at the end, you do definitely taste, like, the nice raspberries, like, nice bitter sweetness to it. If the blueberries there, it's like a whisper in between those two. And I don't really taste it, but I think overall this is a darn good sour.
Yeah, I think it's really good. I like the cherry element to it. And then I like that it does have like a little taste of raspberry. The raspberry's not overwhelming, as we've had on other beers before. Sometimes the raspberry can be way too overpowering, and then it gives it sort of like a particular taste that, and it sometimes it can come off as like metally too because of all the acidity. In this case, I don't get that from the raspberry. Like you said, I don't get a whole lot of blueberry. That's one thing that's kind of hidden in this one. But I think altogether, it kind of makes like a similar style of bomb pop type sour to it that I think works pretty well. I think it's really easy drinking, very light and thin, which is what you want from a sour. You don't really want a hugely thick sour sometimes. You know, that's kind of like more like a milkshakey style. Or a smoothie style, and in this case, it's pretty thin. And what I do agree with what the can calls it. They call it spritzy, and I do agree with that. It is a very light body to it. So I think overall, I do enjoy this. I think this one is a really good Ommegang series beer, and it's a return to form for Ommegang, because if you remember, we covered recently the previous Ommegang series collaboration that they did with Thin Man Brewery, and that one was another sour IPA, but that didn't really go over as well. And that was another raspberry flavored beer as well.
Yep, the Neon Boodles.
Yep, and that one we were kind of disappointed with. This one's more of a return to form, and they have another one coming in October that sounds pretty interesting. Despite the fact that I don't like peanut butter, it is for Halloween, and it's a peanut butter chocolate
Imperial Stout.
Was that what all it was? Peanut butter and chocolate?
I believe so.
Yeah, peanut butter and chocolate Imperial Stout. Sounds interesting. I've had a couple of peanut butter beers before. I'm not a huge fan of peanut butter in general. But I'll still check it out, mostly because of the can, mostly because of the seasonal variety that it brings to the table. So expect that one probably sometime in October. I'm assuming that we'll get it and do it, even though I don't like it. You never know. I might end up liking it. All right, so let's move on to Bloodsport. First, I want to say Bloodsport pretty much has everything that you're looking for when it comes to canon films, when it comes to 80s action movies, and 80s movies in general. Because it is the GOAT of montages.
No, it's not.
You're going to say Silent Night, Deadly Night is the GOAT?
No. Rocky IV, the whole film, Rocky IV is literally a montage.
Yeah.
In the 90 minutes of Rocky IV, 10 minutes are actually filmed. The rest of it's just a fucking montage.
Bloodsport has a lot of montages. Let's go with that.
But it's not Rocky IV.
It's not Rocky IV. You're right. But we love our montages here. The 80s loved its montages. This one has a great one. I always love the montages where they have a guy nodding in approval, which we've talked about. Silent Night, Deadly Night has one of the best ones that you can get with a guy nodding in approval. But this one has it too, because in the one montage about the middle of the film, we have Chong Li, who's like the main antagonist of the movie. He's the reigning champion of the Kumite. He's watching the various fights that are happening in the Kumite right now. And obviously, Jean-Claude Van Damme's character, Frank Dukes, is fighting. And Chong Li just gives a little nod of approval. And right then and there, if you weren't following, Frank Dukes' various legacies, like being able to smash a brick miraculously at the bottom of a brick pile with his one hand, or seeing him steal a coin from a guy's hand without even being able to see the hand move. If you didn't know about his legacies before that, seeing Chong Li give that little nod of approval saying, yep, this guy's a competitor, I acknowledge that he's going to be a strong fighter. You know that means that Frank Dukes is going to be, big time in this Kumite. And I love that too, because it's like the film has to sell to you that like Frank Dukes is going to win the Kumite. Like, we know Frank Dukes is going to win the Kumite. There's no stakes here to say like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Is Frank Dukes going to beat Chong Li here? Bloodsport isn't a movie that works on like the mystery of what's going to happen at the end, because you know what's going to happen. It's just, how do we get there? And
it's got a lot of, it has a lot of like just stereotypical couching, which is unnecessary. Frank Dukes could have been any man, but because it's an 80s action film, he's a captain in the army.
It's just the army element of this movie is so unnecessary.
It's just like, what? And he has to run away. He's going on furlough, but he can't go to Hong Kong. They won't allow him.
Well, because they don't want to lose him, because, American imperialism and stuff, he's like the strongest fighter that they have. They don't want him to die.
That's also never explained. Like,
yeah, no, it's really
like,
not.
Because they say, we need you back. The government spent too much money into you. Like, wait. Is Frank Dukes like part cyborg? Is he like a super
cybernetic
soldier?
Yeah, he's got.
Is he a super soldier? Is he Captain America? Like, what's going on here? Why is he so important to the government? Besides,
Yeah, they briefly mentioned something about like, we just don't want him to get killed here. But yeah, you're right. The army part of this movie is so completely unnecessary. To like, if they completely eliminated Forrest Whitaker's character, the film would not suffer at all. In fact, it probably would run a little bit better, because there would be no ridiculous chase scenes or, buddy cop drama. Oh, we fell in the water chasing him. Damn it, he got away again.
Well, I mean, yeah. So I mean, like, outside, like due to 80s action law, he either has to be a soldier in the military or a cop. So it's like, what do you want Jean-Claude Van Damme to be? Is he in the army, or is he going to be like an NYPD officer going out on the lam? It's just ridiculous. It's like,
I know it because it really serves no purpose, and like the only thing that it does is kind of clutter up the rest of the storyline, because if you didn't have the army part, the film would play out exactly the same. He would go to the Kumite. We know that he's like the setup for him participating in the Kumite has nothing to do with the army either. It has everything to do with his lineage, that he studied under Tanaka, and he wants to, beat the competitors in the Kumite and become the champion. And that's truly all that we really need to know about the setup. However, in true 80s fashion, we do get a very nice long montage of him learning under Tanaka, where we see the tutelage and from a boy to man.
Just getting hip tossed every 3 seconds.
And this does bring us to a great moment in the film where we meet young Frank, who's played by Pierre Raffini. And Pierre, unfortunately, is just not a great actor. Or at least he wasn't a great actor at the time of Bloodsport, giving an extremely stilted performance. And we must just point that out, and unfortunately, hopefully Pierre is not listening to hear us rag on him. And you know what? I bet he's probably gotten better over time. But in this movie, just an absolutely dreadful performance. Kind of a close second to House by the Cemetery with the kid in House by the Cemetery. If you know, you know. If you've seen that movie, you know. But
now I will say, Frank Dukes is his backstory is he's in the army because that's what his real life was. So.
Yeah, they try to keep this movie as close as possible to the real life story of Frank Dukes, right? I mean, everything that happens in this movie is completely realistic and totally occurred at one point. The film doesn't tell you that it's a true story really until the very end. But apparently it's based on Frank Duke's real life. And I just love, well, I'll point this out right now so we don't forget. I just love the tidbits that they give you at the end of the movie that point out like the records that Frank Dukes holds. And one of them is fastest punch with a knockout. And it listed as 0.12 seconds. I'm going to call bullshit on that right now.
Not only that, what fight are they sitting around somebody with a stopwatch like, right?
I know. It's, like, yeah, sure. Maybe now with all of our digital tools and video and things like that, we might be able to get down to that level of detail of, getting that specific time. But back then, I really doubt that we had the capacity to really go back and like time that accurately. Because when does it start? When does it stop? Who starts to watch? I call bullshit on a 0.12 second knockout. That I don't even. That's like 100 milliseconds. It's ridiculous. 1,000 milliseconds. I don't believe it.
Not only that his fight record was 329-0 from 1975 to 1980.
I want to talk to the fact checkers on this movie. See where they got their details from.
They got it from Frank Dukes.
Yeah, Frank Dukes said. I think even so, like I can technically believe the 392-0, I guess. But the one that just really stuck out to me was the 0.12 seconds, where that really took apart the rest of what I believed about.
What about the 73-mile-an-hour kick that he delivers?
I missed that one. What is that?
Yeah, it's like fastest kick speed. It's like 73.7 miles an hour. like seriously, because Chuck Norris, everyone knows is was a legitimate, he's a legitimate martial artist and reputable, in fighting and stuff. Yeah. Yes. He was doing nothing but canon film at this time. You don't think like somebody would have been like, "Hey Chuck, this guy's Frank Dukes. He says he's got a fight record of 329-0. What do you think?" And Chuck probably would have been like, "Bullshit." So it's just I just find it ridiculous that someone's like, "Ow, look at that! We got ourselves a war hero and a CIA agent and a famed martial artist."
Yeah, I missed the part about the 73-mile-per-hour kick. That's also very funny. You just got hit by a train. Yeah, the film definitely takes liberties with its realism. But I think that it's at its core, even though it has some really bad acting, Jean-Claude Van Damme is really not that great at acting at this point. I think that it does a good job of setting up the premise of this Kumite. And I think it does a fine job of kind of going through the scenario of having multiple fighters in the ring. And you and I talked about this off air as well. One of the things that I really like about anime and things like that is when a series kind of goes in order of like, here's boss number 1, and you've got to work up to boss number 15. And it kind of presents it in a logistical order. And so like you're prepared, like they're going to get through this one, but then they've got to face off against this next one and this next one and this next one. And that's kind of like what the tournament does in this Bloodsport movie. Like, that, he may have beaten one guy, but now we've got to see another fight later on. I think that it's presented in a pretty fun way, sometimes through montages, but I think they do a good job with that. Keeping the pacing moving. It does get bogged down a little bit by a love story between Frank and the reporter lady, Janice. And there's a great scene where everybody laughs it off that they treated Janice like a piece of property during a scene where she's assaulted by a couple of guys, and that's when Jean-Claude Van Damme comes in and saves her and basically says, if I can snatch this coin from your hand before you can close it, then I get to keep her. And if I don't, then you guys get to keep her. And everybody's going to have fun. You guys gang rape her, and if I get her, I'll just let her loose. But
listen, she wanted it because you just heard. She's like, "Oh, boys." It's a
hilarious.
I'm a reporter, boys.
Hilarious, manly scene, and I think there's even like a part where Frank is like, "Well, I don't really want her," but she gets to make a number of great surprised faces, like, "Oh, what?" And then after he wins, we see them later, and she's like just laughing. I'm like, "Oh, boys will be boys." Wasn't that fun? It's great. I love it. The romance itself, nothing to write home about, except for the fact that you do get to see Jean-Claude Van Damme in a nice, like, Speedo type underwear.
Ooh, nice, late 80s style,
Red slickers too.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Very, very chiseled physique on him. But that love story really pales in comparison to the one that I think is meant to be in Bloodsport. It's what do they call that?
Bromance?
No, not a bromance, but when the gay character is kind of like underwritten, where it's never really stated that they are gay, but they like are in the storyline, or it's hinted at. I can't remember what that's called. They call it something.
Illicit?
No, it has like a specific. I just heard it the other day, but I don't remember the term for it. But I think that's really what Bloodsport is about. It's about the budding romance between Frank and Jackson, who's played by the massive Donald Gibb. They meet on a bus. Donald Gibb's like, cracking a joke with a woman, pretending like he's really interested in her, but making side eyes at Frank.
Drinking beer.
Yeah. They're
wearing his Harley outfits.
Yeah. They're an odd couple, but they make it work. And there's a really fun arcade moment where they're both fighting in a arcade fighter. Do you know what that game is?
I think kickboxing.
Is it? Yeah.
I think it's kickboxing.
And Frank's beating him, and Jackson's taking it really seriously too. Like he's like, thought he was gonna break the cabinet, but
it's not realistic because I didn't see him pop in a bunch of quarters.
Yeah, that's true. They're just playing for free. But their love interest blossoms, and it has a really great gay undertone to it. Especially once we get to the time when Jackson gets knocked out, Chong Li takes him out, and basically nearly snaps his neck, sends him to the hospital, and Frank takes a bus ride and just has a montage of clips that we just saw like 2 minutes ago of Jackson getting knocked out and how he feels about that. That really cemented.
You thought he was dead.
I thought he was dead. Yeah, I was like, oh man, he killed him, because it's kind of like the Gundam montage of like, oh, that guy just died. I'm having memories of that moment that we just saw. That it's just kind of the same idea. that Frank does, and I thought he died. I was like, oh damn, Frank's love interest dies. Now he really needs to get back at Chong Li. But,
yeah, no, they saved that for some poor bastard that we don't even know that Chong Li just.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying too. Like, where are they dumping all these bodies from the Kumite? They're just like, ugh, Chong Li took out another one.
It's the worst kept secret in all of all of Hong Kong. Like, oh, there's no. All right, yeah, throw him in the river.
Yeah, just get rid of him. I don't know. You would think too. This is like Chong Li's kind of taking out all the competition, so there won't be another Kumite. Like he can't be beaten if he just kills everybody before they get to the next Kumite. But yeah, I that scene where he has that montage really cemented to me that this is a gay movie about the love between Frank and Jackson. And even at the end of the movie, Jackson's in hospital. Frank comes in and says, "Yeah, I beat him up. I did it." Jackson, the love in Jackson's eyes.
You killed him? No, I made him say uncle.
Yeah, Mate. The love in Jackson's eyes there, and then they share the word that two dudes never say to each other,
especially in the 80s.
That's right. I love you, man. Jackson's like, I do too. I love you.
And they did like the nice Schwarzenegger, Carl Withers, manly handshake of love, like in Predator. Remember that?
Oh yeah, the grip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, brother. And the other thing that I like too is that Frank has to go back, right? He gets on the plane and they're joking like, "Oh, this guy is such a son of a bitch," because he said they're late and everything. And then Janice shows up in the car and kind of wave to each other, but the love interest is gone. And that's because Frank has no interest in bringing Janice home. He's Jackson all the way.
3 days, and they love each other.
Yep.
They found love.
I do like too that like at the beginning Frank's like has no part about Jackson because Jackson's hitting on that woman and he's like, you want a big man? And Frank's over there shaking his head. This guy, he's not cultured. He's not civilized. How's he going to participate in this Kumite if he's not civilized? I think this is a gay movie. There's gay undertones. I'm calling it. It's a gay, and I don't say that to be, facetious or anything. It's a gay movie, and that's completely fine. I like it. 1988 gay movie. Love it.
Well, Top Gun too.
Yeah. Watch it with that perspective and see how you feel.
I was gonna say Top Gun's nothing more but just erotic tension between Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer.
Yeah, and the same thing is happening here. Like with that one time Jackson walks in on Frank, he's doing the split across the two chairs. He's like, "Oh my God, do you want to have kids?" And right there, he was not saying like you're gonna hurt yourself. He was saying, "Do you literally want to have kids? Because I'm not sure right now if you're gay or not."
What do you think? Look how well manicured I am. Not a hair on my chest.
And the movie
such well coiffed hair.
That's right. The movie itself, I mean, it is an erogenous movie for gay people. Burly, sweaty men.
Oiled up.
Yeah.
Listening.
What more can you ask for? That Chong Li is fucking ripped too. Doesn't look it at first.
He's like
massive.
fucking Brock Lesnar. Especially the way he skips around.
Yeah.
He reminds me of Brock and like the Fed. Just like all he needed was like a talker to go with him, like someone to promote for him. Which is another weird thing. Why Jackson and Frank have
Victor.
Yeah,
the guy. Yeah, the guy that like escorts him around. Who looks like my mom from the 80s. Has like the mullet type hair, like like 80s women, and he has like that very thick shaded glasses. I think I have a picture of my mom that could look just like that.
Yeah, I don't know why they have a handler, like Chong Li should have we do see his ring guy a couple of times, but it'd be great to like have like somebody promoting for him, and be like, Chong Li's gonna go out there and he's gonna fucking kill you.
I guess he doesn't need it because everybody's already rooting for him, right? So he doesn't even need a promoter because.
Well, look how big and beefy he is.
Know.
I know, but the promoter would get you to put more money down.
It's true. So what do you think is the what do you think of the last fight between Chong Li and Frank?
It's fun. It's a lot of fun because most of the fights throughout the film, which are the main point of the film, the main reason to watch the film,
right,
are really quick engagements. Nothing, too long. Very quick, which is kind of nice because it does make it feel more like a competition. Instead of this long-winded, fight from going from fight to fight. So that is nice. This one obviously is choreographed a little bit better. It's definitely longer. It's nice. I like the whole after Frank's getting the upper hand, Chong Li has like his little sand, like he's Mr. Fuji, and throws it in his eyes, and then you get just like because he can't lose, and then just Jean-Claude Van Damme just be like,
The one time when Chong Li's getting, he's at the ringside and like you're talking about, like his handler guy that kind of is with him in the corner. When he's putting that little tablet, it almost looks like he's putting a Alka-Seltzer or something directly into his stomach.
I would not have guessed that it was like
it's such a weird a moment. I was like, what is he doing? Is he doing does he have like a coin insertion there or something? It's a weird moment, like where because it doesn't look like he's just putting it in his shorts.
That's why Frank was saying, go for the stomach, because that's where he keeps
yeah. But yeah, no, it is a fun moment. It brings us to the greatest moment from Jean-Claude Van Damme, which is where he has to, act like a blind person. And, he reacts as anyone would in this situation where they've been temporarily blinded. Just screaming bloody murder. Basically, like, blinking profusely. It's a great moment.
Sweat's not helping.
I don't know why he didn't win the Oscar, because it's, like, the most realistic performance of a man blinded that I've ever seen.
What? It's probably because, like, they're like, hey, Jean, what? Action! Just like, my fucking just hopping around like my fucking eye.
They went for the realistic approach and they just pepper sprayed him right before.
Well, it is nice, and then we get to see how paying back to his training of like clear your mind and you can see anything.
Of course,
and that's how he's able to overcome it. So yeah, it's really cool. Eddie wins his katana. And that's it.
I really like his hurricane kick. There's a slow motion scene where Chong Li just keeps ducking it. He just keeps going.
Now, I'm no martial arts expert, so please, if I'm wrong, somebody correct me in the comments. But I'm pretty sure, because they say in the film that he's a master of ninjutsu. I'm pretty sure ninjutsu, you don't throw fucking kicks like that. Which it's fine that he does, because again, Jean-Claude Van Damme is an actual kickboxer, so it's, it makes sense. But, the fact that, he's a master of Japanese stealth and intrigue. Yeah, he's throwing, back axe kicks and, hurricane kicks. Open crescent kicks. It's like, I think you got the wrong martial art.
Yeah. No, that's it.
It would have been like, oh yeah, he's a master of judo, and instead of fucking, trying to grapple and throw people and get him to the ground, he's sitting there, throwing haymakers, just blindly, like, yeah, I'm gonna get him. What'd you think of? To kind of go back a little bit to the training montage. What'd you think of the whole rope gimmick of poor 19-year-old Jean-Claude Van Damme getting strung up, like
yeah, like a BDSM sort of.
Yeah, like just like like one of those like rack tables where they stretch your spine out.
Honestly, it's impressive to see it from Van Damme in that scenario. Just getting completely tied up and doing. I am super impressed, as Jackson is, with the versatility of his gonads. To be able to just do the extreme splits that he does in this movie.
Just how limber he is, period. Just is,
No. I'm impressed, and I wish I was that limber. How old was Van Damme when he did this movie? Do you know? Do you have it up?
Let's see.
To look it up.
Van Damme would have been 28.
28 years old. I'm 33. I definitely don't think I can be that limber right now. I guess I'd have to really work at it.
Yeah, no, I've thrown my back out twice already this year. So,
shoveling. So, yeah, probably not able to do the BDSM stuff that Van Damme gets into. However, if you practice makes perfect, so if you search out, some Tinder BDSM stuff, maybe you'll get as limber as Van Damme.
No, not Tinder. That would be ASMR listening to like the stretching.
Yeah, you'll have to put that in your bio. You're like looking to get as limber as Van Damme. So that's the reason for all my really strange kinks that I'm going to bring up. Oh, there's another crack. You cracked into the second can.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, no. I wish I could be that limber. I don't have the capacity anymore. I feel like
I got news for you. You never
did. Yeah, that's true. Never did.
I don't
always
recall
failed the gold.
I was say the V sit and reach part.
Yeah.
Of the...
Yeah, I always failed that. I could go to like the presidential, but I couldn't get further than that. What do you think?
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I'll let you go.
I was gonna say. So, what do you think of Kowloon and Hong Kong as a whole as a setting?
I think it's pretty cool. We get to see it in small part because Frank Dukes goes up to the highest place in the city and just does a split there. He's practicing, and it kind of brings us to one of the 80s cliches of these action movies is like, go to the highest place you can find and just do your practice on a rooftop. It's like, why not? Who wouldn't do that, right? Who wouldn't go to the highest roof that they could find and just like stand there and
have the wind potentially blow you off?
Yeah, but you do get to see the overarching area. I don't think that we get to see like Hong Kong as a whole that often. There's that one chase scene with the army guys, but other than that, like we're kind of relegated to the ring side. But
it's kind of, I would say it's a lost opportunity because I think, just how, Kowloon looks overall, is very interesting and cool. And I think, it would have been cool to see, more of like the actual town.
Mm-hmm.
Like, instead of like some of the nonsense of the love story and the opening, like if they actually spend time, like, going around the city and maybe running into other fighters that they were getting into shenanigans with, because all the fighters outside of Chong Li are just fucking meatbags. They're just there to get asses kicked. So that would have made it a little bit more interesting, I think.
Yeah, I mean they really don't do that often. We don't get really outside of the ring, so it's kind of it's a cheap film in that sense because it really doesn't have much of a setting. There's not a lot of like setup and stuff like that for other areas. But I do think that we could have seen some other stuff outside of the ring. But they do mention that too. Like if they get in a fight outside of the ring, then they're disqualified immediately. So
yeah, no, they don't have to like get in a fight, but just like kind of build up like some other characters. Because again, like the whole having Forrest Whitaker and Norman Burton trying to chase down Fred, and then constantly breaking out these ridiculous sized, tasers. Like, you don't want 50,000 volts, do you, Dukes?
Yeah. And at one point he pulls out like a trash can and deflects them.
Yeah, she just deflects them and it bounces and hits, the random.
Yeah.
The poor random Hong Kong police.
They don't know what they've gotten into. Yeah. Yeah, they have no idea what's in store for them. They keep popping out of like random alleys, and Jean-Claude Van Damme's like, yeah, I can tell that this is like a straight alley until I get to this one place where it, has a left-hand turn. I know you're gonna be there. It's kind of hilarious.
I wonder where they're coming from.
Like any random guy could just walk down the alley and be like, probably gonna be in that left-hand alley there. That's my guess. There's nowhere else for them to be, so. Yeah. No, it's great. And I do also love, like, at every turn, the army guys are just so inept at what they're doing. Completely, like, just totally
we missed out on, like, their version of Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, right.
With them, like, in Hong Kong eating dumplings and be like, oh, we gotta go. It's like they're sitting there fumbling, which that smorgasbord they had of, like, dumplings and, like, lo mein noodles and stuff, that looked really good,
So I was going to ask before, what do you think of the soundtrack for this movie?
Oh, horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. Like, it's got, like, some nice, like classic, cheesy kind of, like, synth lines, but holy shit. The ambiance, like, the music that's for, like, ambiance, I would, like, again, I think it's fine enough. I think, like, it's, like, just, like, the right tone for the film. But anytime they throw in somebody to sing, it's like the cheapest, like, D-list foreigner, Survivor, like, Chicago song, like that, like, fucking love ballad is, like, just ridiculous. Like, oh yeah, gonna make love.
Yeah,
like that, like that nice, like, incredibly, like, cheesy, like, 80s, like, electric piano that's, like, only still resonant in, like, Japanese, like, karaoke bars these days.
Yeah, it's definitely
it's like it's awful.
Like,
it's absolutely
like I
awful.
was saying, like, especially during the fight scenes, they were like, how many synth tracks do you want on this one? And like, all of them. How many does your synth go up to? You could do 8 overdubs at a time.
I was say we only have 8. We only have an 8 track. Nope, you get 16 on there somehow.
I know, because like they got like the synth drums. They've got like a different, synth organ. They've got a different. It's just they've overdubbed it with all the synth tracks. I mean, like you said, I think the fight scenes themselves with like the synth is alright. It's when they start pulling in like the actual music with lyrics, like the Fight to Survive song, or when they have that amazing song where they just keep chanting Kumite, Kumite, Kumite. That's when things start to get pretty cheesy, which is not necessarily out of scope of an 80s movie like this, but yeah, it has a very arresting soundtrack. Other than that, that's pretty much all I got for Bloodsport. Anything else from you?
What'd you think of the dim mak?
Oh yeah, like I was saying, the dim mak is amazing. You can pick one block in a stack of bricks and just smash your hand into it and blow it out. So
that's also like another thing Mortal Kombat took from it. Not the dim mak itself, but if you remember from the earlier games, the test your mic mini game.
Mm-hmm.
That's that basically.
Yeah, basically.
And when I hear the dim mak and what it does, I just think of like Kenshiro from Fist of the North Star, like, because he's just all he does is fucking flick you and you go and he's like, and then you're gonna die in 5 seconds. What? Yeah. And they explode into.
Yeah, that is pretty much like Fist of the North Star. Yeah, like I touched your arm, but I targeted your heart.
I hit this one chi spot that's going to send my energy all the way up and radiate through into your head. It's going to explode.
Yep.
But I think it's a little under. I think the fact that he uses it to nut punch Chong-Li at the end, guess it truly is a blood sport because no one's like, oh, that's fighting dirty.
No,
somebody should overdub that. Maybe somebody has him punching him in the balls and add Bobby Hill from King of the Hill. Like, that's my purse. I don't know you.
Yeah, yeah. He does do a couple nut punches in this movie. It's just like whoosh, right to the balls.
And like again, like Frank Dux is a badass because he doesn't take like his top part of his gi off until like second to last fight. He's just breezing through with like he's fucking Goku. Like, oh yeah, I guess I'll finally take off my weighted robes.
Yeah, right.
Which has always been one of the dumbest things in Dragon Ball like ever. Like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, I was wearing weighted armor to make me faster and stronger. And look how fast he is now.
Not only that, but Frank sets the record for the fastest knockout in the Kumite, like immediately. This first match. Just sets the record.
Who's the record keeper at the Kumite? Who's like, all right, what's the fucking record for knockout?
18 seconds. Yeah. I find it hard to believe that this movie had to have 2 screenwriters too. It's like doesn't have that much story. Well, yeah, it has 3 if you count the guy who wrote the story's treatment of it, but 2 people actually wrote the screenplay itself.
How many montages did they write in? Or was that like
yeah, probably right in the script montage time.
Or do you think like maybe there was a lot more going on, but like the director's like, listen, we don't have the fucking money to do all this nonsense, so we're just gonna go with a random like Singing in the Rain run through Kowloon, as he's like, which that's another we talked about a little bit, but like that when that whole montage when he's running away from like the army cops and you got like the freaking synth like he's on the run.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's just like kind of spinning around like it's almost like Police Story with like Jackie Chan, like some of the bits, but his is more artfully done and like more engaging and makes sense. Here he's just kind of like gently like, oh, catch you boys, catch me. Oh God,
love it. It's a great movie. That brings us to our rating. So, on a scale of 0 to 10, young Frank's stealing a katana, what would you give Bloodsport?
I'll give it a 7 out of 10. It's enjoyable for what it is. I think the fact that it's only 90 minutes definitely helps because even in this 92-minute film, there's a lot of unnecessary bullshit that's pretty tedious and annoying at times. But that being said, I think the premise overall is pretty cool, like an underground fight tournament that happens every 5 years that's mysterious and nobody really knows about. The fights are pretty cool. The film's basically carried by the idea and the premise overall, and how menacing Chong Li is. Jean-Claude Van Damme is actually pretty good in this. He's actually really charismatic. He's probably the only good, I would say like the only decent acting part in this film. Him and Forrest Whitaker, but that being said, for poor Forrest, he doesn't really have too much to do to begin with, so it's kind of funny to think that the poor man, this is one of the first films that he was in. But I think it's just, it's enjoyable. It's a fun film. If you're looking for something to just totally turn off and just kind of sit back and just shove popcorn into your mouth, this is definitely one of those films. But there's nothing really outstanding or groundbreaking from the action to the martial arts to the premise, So, yeah, 7. I give it a 7.
Yeah, I'd probably give this a 7.5. I think it's a enjoyable experience. It's definitely not what you would consider like a great movie, but it is a fun movie, and I think that if you can get down with that and just kind of let go of the various criticisms that you might have of it, like stupid plotting, or in some cases like really non-existent plotting, or stupid incorporation of the army guys or really bad acting at times. If you can get used to all of that, I think the movie is really fun to just like watch and be entertained by. And it has a lot of good fight sequences. I think Jean-Claude Van Damme does a really good job with those. He's definitely the man for the part. He's very limber, obviously very physically fit and adaptable. And I think they did a really good job with the choreography here, especially with Chong Li. I think their fight scene is probably the best. And I think he's an imposing figure too. So they did a good job with the villain. Like you said, there's a lot of excess stuff that really doesn't need to be in this movie. It does elongate it a little bit. They probably were looking for a 90-minute runtime here. So I think that, if they were to cut out some of that stuff, probably would have made the film a little bit more streamlined, but maybe a little too short. So, with that said, I think the film is definitely a fun thing to just sit down and watch as an action movie. It's not going to like blow you away. It's probably not even the best like martial arts, street fighting, kickboxing movie that I've seen, but it definitely is, a fun experience, and it does have longevity. So, I think it's fair to say that it's something that you should check out if you haven't seen it. So with that, we come to the end of our Bloodsport discussion. Should we say what's on tap for next week?
What's on tap for next week, Ryan?
I think what's on tap for next week is Roadhouse. Patrick Swayze.
We were supposed to do it. You know what? God, that's going to bug me why we didn't do anything during August, because that was part of our original Red Hot Action 80s month, but it got cut off because we weren't able to do it. Yep,
we had to I can't remember exactly why we did. There was something going on. I can't remember what it was. We weren't able to do it at that time, but
probably just another COVID spike.
Something like that. I can't remember. But yeah, we're gonna do Roadhouse this time, and should be fun. I have seen it now because I watched it for the last time we were gonna do it, and
yeah, it was funny too because you were saying like, "Oh man, it feels like I just watched."
It does feel like I just watched it. Yeah, it does. It feels like I literally just saw it not too long ago. But what can you do? I'll watch it again.
The Swayze in tight jeans throwing crescent kicks.
Absolutely. It's great. It's a fun movie. So I think we'll have a fun time with Roadhouse. A little bit of a change up from Bloodsport, so stay tuned. You'll definitely want to check that one out. So thanks for listening. Hopefully you come back for the rest of the films in our Red Hot 80s Action Summer Part 2 Heatwave Edition. And if you want to continue checking us out, you can find us on pretty much any podcasting app that you can think of. We're on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, our home base at Anchor.fm. But if you don't use those, we're on every podcasting app. So subscribe to us, leave us a nice review. That always helps us out. We are on Facebook and Twitter. Just search for us on there, Blood and Black Rum Podcast. We have an email address at bloodandblackrumpodcast@gmail.com. You can write to us. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, what you want to hear us cover for next episodes. We'll take those into consideration. We also have a Patreon page at patreon.com/bloodandblackrumpodcast. You can donate to us. We definitely appreciate that. Whatever you can send our way, we'll put towards beer. So thank you in advance. So that's it. Hopefully we see you next time for our coverage of Roadhouse.
Take care. Oh, was that too early?
No, you're good.
Take care.